Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the very next episode of The Remedy with Tova Sido and
Janice Gaunt and
Tom Bridwell.
Oh, Tom. That sounded very official.
Janice Gaunt.
Tom Bridwell.
You do have a great
You
voice.
do. He's got a radio voice.
Yeah, he totally has a radio
Yeah.
voice. Can you sing,
you.
Tom?
In the low register, yes.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. That's not surprising to me. Okay, let's thank the sponsor for today's episode. So this is super fun. This girl, Casey Hannah.
Yeah.
Today is her 40th birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
I know. So cute. She's the sponsor for The Remedy today. But she invited, for her birthday, she got a bunch of bikes at Soul Cycle and had her favorite instructor teach class with all of her friends.
Oh.
And she started Soul Cycle because of The Remedy.
Oh.
Because we had one of the instructors way back, like one of the first Remedy I ever did. I had this guy as a guest. His name was Kevin Cummings. He's an epic Soul Cycle instructor, but I talked to him about leaving his high-paying job in New York City to follow his dream and passion, because he just felt like he was soulless in the middle of, all these buildings, and he just had a passion for Soul Cycle. So he quit all of it and became a Soul Cycle instructor.
Oh, how funny.
Moved to Dallas away from his family. And so it's all about like following your passions and dreams. And anyway, 4 or 5 years ago when she first listened to that, she was like, I think I'll try Soul Cycle. And now she goes religiously. So she invited me
to her party?
to her little class this morning, which absolutely, I was like, I'm going to barf. Here it comes. I don't know how I did it. I've not done cardio in over a year. Like I'll walk. That's not cardio to me. Like I've not raised my heart rate outside of yoga. I mean, I do yoga. I walk.
The yoga will raise your heart rate.
But not like Soul Cycle. I literally thought I was going to throw up. And I was like, now I remember why I stopped.
I used to do Terlingo cycle all the time. John's a really good friend of mine. And Bryn is my oldest daughter, and she does Terlingo. And it's hard. It's so hard. I said, it makes me cuss like a sailor.
Yeah. One time I told the instructor, Kevin, because I would sit in the back row. He'd be like, come on, Tove. Come on. And one time I screamed, F you. From the back.
I know.
My legs can't do any more than I'm doing. Anyway, Casey is our precious sponsor, and it's her 40th birthday.
Oh, happy birthday. And thank you.
Happy birthday.
You gave us a present.
Yeah, totally. She's so fantastic. She's just fantastic. So, okay, so last night I was having dinner with my daughter.
Yes.
Who's 19, Anna Pren. And she was talking to me about confidence. And I appear in her mind to have high self-esteem, and which I found fascinating. I don't know how my children perceive me, but I'm sure somebody else perceives me as low self-esteem, right? Like,
probably
it's
not
different, whatever. But she perceived me as someone who has high self-esteem. And so she was asking me, like, have I always felt this way about myself? How did I evolve? She was asking me all these amazing questions about it. And she said the sweetest thing. She was like, Mom, I remember something that you told me when I was probably 10. And she said, I've never forgot it. And it's got me through some really low moments about me, about how I feel about me. And I said, what did I say? And she said, you know what, Anna Pren? She said, you said your whole life, you're going to look right and you're going to look left. And there's going to be somebody skinnier than you. There's going to be somebody richer than you. There's going to be somebody smarter than you. And then, you look the other direction, and then there's going to be somebody that you're skinnier than, you're smarter than, you're like, fill in the blank. So stop looking around, stop looking left and right, and only look up for your value. Mm-hmm. The only true thing about you is what God says about you. And I do remember telling her that a bazillion times. But she was like, I just really want to thank you for that, Mom. And I was like,
that's really sweet.
Really cute.
Yeah.
But it made me think, like, I don't know. I know that I haven't always been this secure in my skin as I am today. But, if somebody said, write the timeline, or what was the evolution to you having a higher regard of yourself, what did that look like? I've never put a lot of thought into that, but I'm sure, because I've had people on my couch, that you've had a bazillion people on your couch come and sit and say, I just don't feel good about myself. I look in the mirror, I don't like what I see. I look around and I compare myself and I feel like I'm always less than. Like, how do I get a higher self-esteem? And so I thought that might be an interesting topic for today.
It's great. That's really funny because Tom and I, not Tom, my husband, Tom, our producer, and I are reading my book for a book on tape, and we just finished reading that, right, Tom?
Oh, about self-esteem?
Yep.
Yeah. So
should we just read your chapter?
Well,
we were on this exact subject.
We were on this exact
great
subject.
Good. So please
you know,
teach us all.
Well, it's so self-esteem is more about me recognizing my value. And so and basically what you said is all you have to really do to recognize your self-esteem is look up, because our self-value is because we breathe. And but we have externalized our self-esteem to a lot. So we have looks esteem, we have friendship esteem, we have success esteem, we have, all different
probably relationship esteem,
yep,
parenting,
for sure. Yep.
esteem.
All of that. And so what is so important that's so funny because I just finished reading this, is that one of the things that I suggest in my book, The Shame Game, and also in Prince Charming is Dead or in Rehab, is that, you have to know who you are in order to value yourself. And so if you look at your value system, like what you like to eat, what sort of people you want to be around, what are your goals and all of that, and really having an understanding of yourself. And so what I talk about in both of those books is there's 4 different realities that we have. We have our thinking reality, we have our behavior reality, we have our physical reality, our look reality, and then our spiritual reality. And so as we break those things down and as you examine yourself in those areas, it is, so when I take all my clothes off and stand in front of the mirror, my body esteem is not what it used to be, because with the aging, and since I've had this dumb shoulder thing on, it's weird because I haven't done arm weights in 6 weeks, and that my skin looks crepey, and it's
the
like
atrophy. I could not believe after my accident. The atrophy of my body. It was so quick.
Right. And I've been walking on the treadmill. I've been getting almost 20,000 steps a day, but because I'm, just to keep my exercise going, but I can't lift weights or anything like that. But if I allow that, my body esteem to define my self-esteem, then I'm
screwed.
Up that creek without a paddle, because it's going to be a while before I'm going to be able to do all of those things. And just the fact that I am 70 years old, there's just going to be your rear changes, it's just a lot of things. And so learning to define yourself is about what is my reality? What's my behavior reality? What do I believe about behavior? What do I believe about my spirituality? What do I believe? How do I know my feelings? Can I identify what I'm feeling? Can I identify what I'm thinking? And when you develop all of those, when you answer those questions, who am I, rather than your esteem coming from the outside, self-esteem comes from the inside. So it's from the inside out. So we know ourselves. When we know ourselves, then we start to value ourselves. You know, because there were so much of my life when I was, you know, in my 30s and 40s. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what my value system really was. You know, I just knew that I needed to be skinny and have, you know, my hair look good or whatever it was, you know, but it was, but that's not self-esteem. That's your looks, you know, and so self-esteem is understanding yourself. Who am I? What do I like? What do I want to do? What kind of people do I like? And developing that sort of BFF with yourself is where that self-value comes from. You know, because self-esteem is, I mean, spiritually, our value is set in stone because we are created fully loved.
Yeah.
You know, and so, but as we grow up, we learn to externalize our self-value. So it's not really self-esteem, it's other esteem. So it's like, how am I doing? How am I doing? How am I doing? And
We outsource our esteem.
absolutely we do, which is, so then you don't. So
Is that a norm? Don't you think that's normal, that phase of like, who am I?
Oh, I think, yes. I think most people, but I think that a lot of, as parenting, if you have younger children, what is really important is to be able to, like Tom, I was thinking about Betty this morning. That's Tom, the producer's daughter, and she's the cutest little thing you've ever seen. And, you know, she is at the perfect age, you know, to know who a lot of that she is. And I think that you guys, Tom, have done a really good job of giving her confidence and giving her permission to love herself.
Thank you.
You know, you are enough because you breathe the air. There's your value. You know, now, some people are prettier than others. Some people are more musical. Some people are whatever that is.
More intelligent.
Yeah, it just, that's not defining us.
No, I think your point about to love yourself is to know yourself is to love yourself. So a person who listens to that, like externally, if I hear that, that makes sense to me. Because I know myself. But for somebody who's really struggling with how they see themselves or what they know about themselves, how would you guide a person to get to know themselves?
Okay, so we have the different domains of our reality. We have our physical reality. That's our body. We have our behavior reality, how we behave, our feeling reality. What are our feelings? Anger, fear, sadness, pain, joy, shame, all those different domains of those different feelings. And our, so we have our physical, our emotional.
And spiritual.
So we've got our feeling, our body, our behavior, our emotions, and our spirituality. So when you divide those things into, when you think about yourself from those domains, and you think, well, what am I feeling? I was just reading that part of the book, and it's about, am I sad? I didn't even know how to recognize my feelings. Because we were just told to be nice and don't cry.
Totally.
You know?
My brother and I were talking about that this morning on the phone. He was like, I mean, we talk a lot about like,
Yeah.
I mean, we talk a lot, period, but we talk a lot about growing up and why we feel the way we do, why we react or respond the way we do, how that's rooted in our childhood.
Yeah.
You know, what's the connection there? And we talk a lot about how, I mean, the same. We had no idea I have no idea how I felt as a child. None. The only thing that mattered in my house was how my mom felt.
Yeah, because if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
Yeah, which is the dumbest saying of all time.
Yeah.
But it was very true in my house. Nobody gave, and I'm not throwing a pity party, it was just my reality. Nobody gave a shit about Tova, how Tova was doing.
They weren't taught themselves
Yes.
to do that.
Yes.
You know, I remember when Owen was little, my oldest grandson, and I remember him crying, and his father grew up in West Texas, and his grandparents were there, and he was crying, and I remember his grandmother saying, don't cry, Owen, don't cry. And I said, yes, he can cry, you know, but that was that generation. And she loves Owen as much as I love Owen, but that generation was taught, especially for boys, don't cry.
Yeah.
And for girls, don't be angry.
Or dramatic.
You're
being dramatic.
Yeah.
If you're having a feeling, you're being dramatic.
Yeah. And so so when you start to accept all of these different aspects of yourself, you know, when I went to the Meadows and did a family program for a week, and Pia Melody, I was crying in a group session, and she said, what are you feeling? And there were the 8 basic feelings. And I looked up there and I said, I don't know. And I was crying. But I didn't even know to say, I'm feeling really sad.
That is so fascinating.
We just didn't talk about it. And nobody gave us permission. They tried to fix it. Stop being sad. Stop crying. Stop, you know, all of that stuff.
Man up. Buck up.
Yeah.
I remember my dad saying to my brother, stop crying. Are you a man or a mouse?
Yeah.
I mean, that's terrible.
I know. And they didn't know any better.
No. I'm not angry about it, but because like you said, they were just repeating what they'd been taught.
Yeah.
But thank God we have access to information that can teach us a new way.
Well, and it is so honestly and truly, the most important relationship we have in our lifetime is our relationship with ourselves. And that is learning to identify your own reality and your feeling reality, your behavior reality, your emotional reality, all of that, physical. Then you can have a real relationship with yourself. And it doesn't mean that you don't have it doesn't mean that everything is just okay. You know, I may look at, you know, let's say I get mad and I say something that was really rude to somebody, and I think, okay, well, that's really not my value system, but I am human, so I'm not going to be Little Miss Perfect. And so, but I can take that and learn from that and make amends for that, and that gives me more self-esteem because I can recognize and own my human behaviors and my human reactions and still love me. You know?
It's great.
And that's what I think we're after with our children, is if we can teach them. And it's never too late to learn that. I didn't learn it till I was in my 40s.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
I don't think I did at all. I learned a little bit. I think for me, breaking away from the Mormon faith.
Yeah, I'll bet.
You know, for so long, I was so numb to all of my feelings, desires, passions. I didn't know anything about anything because my goal was to be a good Mormon girl. I put Carter on a plane this morning, and we're going to San Francisco on Saturday.
Oh, fun.
Me and the kids. My dearest, one of my oldest friends is getting married for the first time.
Oh, fun.
I know, and I get to officiate her wedding, and it is just the thrill of a lifetime.
Oh, that's so fun.
So anyway, we were talking about San Francisco because we're going on Saturday, and Carter was held hostage in the car with me driving to the airport this morning. He's actually going to see my brother. Anyway, we were talking about San Francisco, and he was like, "What made you move there?" And he's just asking me a bunch of questions about it, and I said, I was living in Park City. I went to visit there, and after I was like, I'm moving there. And
how old were you when you moved there?
I was 26.
God, that's so awesome that you did that.
I just went on a weekend trip there with the guy that I was dating at the time, and he had a bunch of friends from Boston College that had moved to San Francisco, and I had the time of my life that weekend. I'm like, I'm moving there, and I found a job. And
how long did you live there?
3 years.
Oh my gosh! And why did you come back?
To date Topher, and get married to him. And my mom was sick, so both things went hand in hand. My dad had left in the meantime, and so somebody had to come back and take care of her. But anyway, Carter was like, "So you just like up and moved to San Francisco?" I was like, "Yeah, I was sick of Utah. I was sick of Mormonism." I said, and that period that I lived in San Francisco was the most transformational period of time, because I think for the very first time in my life, I was like, I like that. I love that. I mean, it was like the veil was ripped off.
Yeah.
And I was discovering Tova.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you think about, and you know this as well as I do, and we talked about it a couple weeks ago, growing up in such a smashed down, repressive, faith and lifestyle, you just did the right thing. You just did what you were told to do. I mean, I think I'm the only one of my friends that never drank and never had sex in college, ever.
Too bad. Go back. Go back to college.
That was not, you didn't even think about that.
I know.
And then I was just so innocent. I mean, and just, I had no idea. And so when my eyes were open to the world and to me, it was, I mean, I love what you said, get to know yourself, and it's never too late. It's never too late. And those moments of self-discovery, and my parents weren't watching me, and they were so far away, and back then there were no phones and
you could discover you because nobody was following you around telling you shouldn't be doing that.
Could and couldn't. You go to church on Sunday, and what the hell are you wearing? And you sure drank a lot last night. I mean, I had never drank. And I mean, I was like, whoa, this is so fun. I mean, I had beers but to your point, I think that what you said is so beautiful. The most important relationship that you will ever have in your life is the one that you will have with yourself. And how do you do that? Just like any other relationship.
You get to know them.
You get to know them.
I will tell people, I actually did this, and I tell people to go get some magazines, get a clothing magazine, a travel magazine, like a House Beautiful, and like a food magazine, and just turn on, good music and sit down. If you want to have a glass of wine, have a glass of wine, and just look through a magazine and open it and look at the picture and say, is this me? And if the answer is yes, then tear that picture out and put it in a pile. And then keep going and take, so you're going to get a travel, House Beautiful, food, and fashion. And then when you tear it out, if it resonates as you, or I'd like to go there, then tear them out and then make get a poster board and make a me poster and hang it in your laundry room or put it in your closet or put it in your living room, frame it if you want to, and really realizing who you are because of what you like and what you don't like and what you want to do and what you don't want to do.
And what you like to wear and what you don't like to wear.
Yeah, I was just reading about, again, in the book, this, we're doing a audio. I think I've already said that. And I remember thinking, and I had no idea. I looked in my closet one day and thought, who bought those clothes?
I remember you telling me
Yeah,
that.
there was stuff hanging on them, like
or
bling.
maybe it's because I read your book, but I remember thinking,
and I was
wow,
like,
that's
who
powerful.
bought those clothes?
That's
because I just
powerful.
looked around and bought what everybody else was wearing rather than what I want. You know, it's so interesting.
It's so
You know,
interesting.
I cannot stand salmon. And I've been to so many dinner parties.
The fish or the color?
I like the color. I hate the fish. I like smoked salmon, and I can't tell you how many times I have made myself eat salmon somewhere with people, like at somebody's house for dinner, and I didn't want it, and I ate it. And I don't like it.
You would never do that now.
Never. I would probably cut it up and just spread it around a little bit, you know, but no, I wouldn't eat it. I wouldn't make myself eat anything I didn't want to eat.
It's so liberating.
I know.
To discover you and to have preferences.
And that goes on and on and on. What's interesting about as you get older is you go through this again because then you're thinking, okay, time's a ticking. You know, it may be, you know, I am extremely hopeful that I have 30 more years and that I want to go and travel and do things for 30 more years. So, man, I am saying yes to anything and everything that I want to do in order. And so it's almost a new evolution of myself.
It's so interesting you said that today, again, when I was riding with Carter. I was like, I know it sounds weird. I said, but one day you're going to turn an age, and I don't know what age it will be. And I said, and you're going to think, one day I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder when I'm going to die. I wonder how I'm going to die. And I was like, I don't obsess about it, but those are thoughts that come to me.
Well, and you had a near-death experience.
But you know what Carter said? He goes, that's weird. And I was like, it's weird because you're 19.
And that's all right.
Yeah. When I was 19, I had never once thought about that. But when you have that thought for the very first time, it changes. It's kind of like what you said. It's for me, that was the shift. Like, I don't know how long I have left here.
No.
Like, let's go.
Oh.
Tom, have you had that thought yet?
Yes. Well, it's funny. I was about to chime in. This happened last week when we were in Colorado. Betty and I were driving the golf cart around the golf course, and I thought I ran into some people that I knew from Abilene from my childhood, and because I know that those people are there, these two people sort of looked like them, and I pulled the golf cart over and waited for them to get up close to us, and it ended up not being the people I thought it was.
Yeah.
And they were kind of like, what are you doing? And I just went, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were somebody else, and we just drove off. And Betty goes, that was so embarrassing. And I remember, and I just said, why? For you or for me? And she was like, for me. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry you're embarrassed, but... And then she kind of thought about it, and she's like, well, aren't you embarrassed? And I said, no, not at all, because it was a complete accident. It took about 3 seconds for everybody to get over it. And I was kind of like, why did she think that is so embarrassing? It puzzled me so. But then I remembered when I was a kid, that's exactly the kind of thing I would have thought probably.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my dad is so.
Yes, exactly. I could see me saying that to my dad, like, God, you must be so embarrassed. But, you know, as an adult, it's just a complete accident. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. I mean, the awkwardness lasted literally less than 5 seconds. But for Betty, she was just like,
That's
how embarrassing.
All age appropriate.
Yes.
yeah.
And doesn't it
but
feel-
isn't that the truth? So
Yeah.
think about that with our children.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know, if our children act out or something like that, then are we embarrassed, or what are people going to think of me if my girls do such and such? And I don't make that about me at all.
But I think I was counseling this precious couple yesterday, and they had just got back from a trip, and on this trip they went on a bike ride. And he wanted her to ride the electric bike, and she didn't want to.
Yeah.
She felt like it was too fast and too scary. She's like, no, I would just rather ride a regular bike. And he was like, well, I want you to ride the electric bike. And she was like, but I'm not going to. I don't want to. And so he got an electric bike. She got a regular bike. Well, obviously, she didn't keep up with him.
Yeah.
You know, because the electric bike just
Goes
goes
faster.
so much faster. And they were in a hilly part of the world. And so halfway through, he's like, just switch with me. And she's like, I don't want to switch with you. And he was like, no, just switch with me. And it'll be easier for you. It'll make your experience better. And she was like, I don't want to switch with you. He's like, but you're struggling. Like, she's like, I don't want your electric bike. He could not let it go. It
Did she
ruined-
get on the electric
No,
bike? Good
she
for her.
never switched. And he was like, it just would have made the experience so much better. She goes, for you.
Yeah.
For you. And I said to him, why? Let's just pause for 1 second. I said, why can't you be okay if you're perceiving? He's like, well, she was frustrated. It would have made the experience so much better. I said, why can't you be okay if she's not okay? Do you see what's happening here? You spent the entire time trying to fix her problem, what you perceived as her problem. She's telling you, I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
I'm just going slower. But I thought that such a microcosmic, if that's a word, example of how so many people operate.
Yeah.
Here, please be okay. Please be okay. Please be okay so that I can be okay. Please take my electric bike so that my experience is better. I said, if she's telling you she's fine and she's not fine, that's her problem.
Well, and the thing is that if we don't differentiate ourselves from other people, we're like a tail on a dog's ass.
Totally.
You know, they'll be wagging you around from here to there. So I've learned an incredible amount of this with my children being adults is that I can be okay when my children are not okay because what they choose and what they do with their life is literally none of my business. I care. I want them all to be happy and healthy, but nothing's a reflection on me, and I'm good to go.
Why is that concept? I think that concept is arguably one of the most difficult for people.
Well, because just like what happened with Betty is she became embarrassed because of something that her dad did, which is the essence of codependency. You know, how you doing? If you're not okay, or, oh, what if they're thinking about you? Then it must be a reflection on me and all of that. And it's just hard to keep that separate because what we've done as a lot of parents is we have our children's accomplishments are feeding us rather than their accomplishments need to feed them.
That's 100%
and
true.
so then what's so beautiful about that is that then I take my hands off other people. And I know I've said this before on here, you know, not everybody wants a mother that's a therapist, but I don't even give them my opinion. I say, I have an opinion. Do you want to hear it? And sometimes they say, no thanks,
really.
you know, and I'm like, oh, okay, you know, it's really good,
I'd
okay.
really like to share it.
You know, but it frees me. It sets me free.
Yep.
And so, and it gives people like Betty, how old is Betty? Is she 8?
She's 8.
Yeah. You know, so she is going to start separating herself from her parents and her friends and all of that. And for you guys as parents not to take what she does or doesn't do personally.
Or on. It's not, I mean, I've told this story on this podcast before, but just in case people haven't heard it, you know, Carter was a badass quarterback in high school. Carter being a quarterback has nothing to do with me.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
And I'm excited for him that he had all of that excitement and fun, but I can't tell you how many times I would be sitting in the stands and Carter would do something.
And they'd pat you on the back.
Oh, yeah. And that's exactly where I'm going with it. And Carter would, you know, throw an amazing pass and catch, and crowd goes wild. And then everybody turns around and looks at me. Yeah, great job, Mom. I'm like, do you think all 5'4", 112 pounds dripping wet had anything to do with that? Like, nothing. And it doesn't say anything about me. But that's the world we live in.
Yeah, and we can celebrate their successes. And
yeah, but they were celebrating
But
me.
they were celebrating you like it was your success.
Like I was on the field with him. It's kind of like that mom who came into your office that day and was like, well, we made a 1,300 on the SAT. And you're like, who the hell's we?
I said, did you take it too?
But that's a dangerous word for parents to use.
Yeah.
We. Who's we? You got a mouse in your pocket? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Sally took the SAT.
Yeah.
Not you.
I remember being in the grocery store after Blair got her divorce, and a lady walked up to me that I knew, and she said, oh, my gosh, I am so sorry that your daughter's got a divorce. Oh, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm okay. My divorce was a long time ago.
Exactly.
And I am okay with the decisions that my children make. Mm-hmm. It is, it's, but it was like, oh my, that I was going to be swinging from the rafters because of something my children do. Trust me, you don't want to do that. You don't want to personalize all their choices.
No.
My parents.
Oh, yeah. Good Lord, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's funny.
Well, I do think that having self-esteem, having confidence, knowing yourself, there is, I wish that for everybody.
Me too.
Because there is, I mean, I don't think perfectly about me, but I think very highly of me.
Mm-hmm. You should.
And I can, and I think we all should.
We should.
I was on the boat this weekend with Craig. God, we had so much fun. And we were on the boat so long that, if you sit long enough, I mean, after you've given birth to 3 children and, you're 52, things just... they don't go back to the way that they once were. I mean, I was so proud of my abs. Like I had a washboard situation that I was super excited about and really excited about getting in a swimsuit. And, Craig and I are sitting there, and I was sitting so long in the front seat, like kind of like.
And you had sweat in between your little ridges.
Yes. So I stood up and the sun hadn't got to the ridges.
You had stripes.
So it looked like I had a 6-pack. I was like, Craig, look at my 6-pack. But it was just where my wrinkles, or my rolls, whatever. And I said, oh, babe, I'm so sorry you missed my prime. Like, I used to have, like...
I never had a 6-pack in my entire life.
Well, I never had a 6-pack, but I had crazy good abs.
I never really did. I never really did.
It was just... and I was like, sorry you missed it. He goes, hey, babe, you missed mine too.
Yeah.
But it's like... it's so fantastic. Like, I'm not sitting there thinking probably like I was when I was 25, like, suck your stomach in and gotta look good. And I don't think like that.
Yeah.
Like, there's just a comfortability that comes
Well,
with
it's
yourself.
well, and a lot of it, I mean, part of my comfortability comes from the fact that there's nothing I can do at this stage of the game.
No.
And it's fine. There's too many other things I'd rather do. I'd rather go have a good dinner and a glass of wine.
Me too. and that ship has sailed.
Yeah, it has. And that's okay.
That's okay. There's seasons, but I look back on how I felt about myself when I was 22 and then how I feel about myself at almost 52. Like, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
No, it's so much better.
Yes. And so that's just like it's an amazing thing, is this acceptance of God's creation.
Yeah, and I think in a nutshell, the thing about self-esteem is it comes from your inside out instead of the outside in. So when you externalize your self-value dependent upon what other people think, then you're going to be in trouble because some people aren't going to like it. And so realizing that all I need for self-esteem is for Janice to like Janice.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yep.
That sums it up.
Yeah.
I love it.
Me too.
Well, great topic, great conversation. We hope this helps you feel better about who you are.
Yeah, for sure. Make a list.
Yeah. Go on a date. Get to know yourself.
Yeah.
Go on a date with yourself.
Yeah.
Have an amazing week.